Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. It is time for, excuse me, the 2021 Lomax Movie Awards. This is the nominations. I will be announcing the winners a week from now. Normally I've done these as pre-recorded videos that I've then edited and put up, but I wanted to give it a bit of a live flavour, see how we go. Just before I get into it, I would just like to give a few shout outs. My latest patrons that I have are Brian Hayes, Aaron White, and Zarat Ryan. I do apologise, Zarat, if I've completely butchered the pronunciation of that name. But yes, Zarat has actually not only become a patron, but he's also become a member. Which that blows my mind that somebody would do that. But thank you, Zara, and thank you, Aaron and Brian, and all my patrons and members for that. But let's get into it anyway. So I'm going to go through 13 categories. That's how many I've got. I've got 13, and it's going to cover movies that were released in the year of 2020. Now, I know that the Oscars this year, not that anybody actually watched the Oscars, but they covered movies that were released in 2020, but also within the first few months. I can't remember what the cut-off period was, but they took up the first few months of 2021 as well, which to me was just a nonsense idea, quite frankly. I'm not going to do that because it'll just confuse matters come next year when I get around to doing the 2022 Lomax Movie Awards. So now I'm sticking to movies that were released, going off US release dates within the year 2020. There are a couple of films that have been nominated, at least one anyway, where I know in the UK it was released in 2019, but in America it was released in 2020. And for these things, we tend to go off US release dates, so that's what I'm going off here. 13 categories. And I'm just going to check the comments first before we get into it. Aaron, right off the bat there, with a dropping the super chat. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for that very much. Very much appreciated. Blows my mind every time. First category that we've got is not best film. I clicked the wrong one. Put them in the wrong order. This is why I don't normally do it live. There you go. From now on, now I've figured it out, we're doing the right order. Best film is what we save for last because everybody wants to know what the best film nominees are. I'm saving them for last. First up is that's it. Best production design. So I've got 5 nominees in each category. I've just got them up here on my phone, so I will be looking down when I read them out. The only category with more than that is the best film category, in which as is traditional for me at any rate, I do 10. But for best production design, we've got K.K. Barrett for Birds of Prey, Donald Graham Burt for Mank, James D. Bissell for The Midnight Sky, Nathan Crowley for Tenet, and Aileen Bonetto for Wonder Woman 1984. And as we go through these, I'm pretty sure there will be a few names that I butcher. Again, we're live. I don't get the chance to redo them, so prepare for some rather funny pronunciations of some names, especially in the next category. Blimey. Okay, but so best production design, they are the nominees. I know a lot of people weren't overly keen on Birds of Prey. I loved what they did with that film from a production design standpoint. Very colourful, Just a very cluttered kind of world. And obviously Nathan Crowley is not a newcomer to these awards. It's just the work he does with Nolan is exceptional, and the stuff that he does on the Bond movies is exceptional. Donald Graham Burt for Mank, just getting that period detail so spot on. Obviously David Fincher is a stickler for period detail, and that film just has amazing production design. Not one of my favourite David Fincher films overall, to be honest. It'll probably be the David Fincher film I rewatch least, but damn, it looked good. So yeah. Okay. So let's have a look. See who we've got here. Aaron White, hello. Harmon Mose, hello. Dale, good old Dale, he's always there. Thanks for joining us, Dale. Good to have you. Okay, back to it. So next up, we've got, and I'll try and get it in the right order this time. Next is best editing. So this is where I'm going to butcher some names, I think. So we've got Frederick Thoroval for Promising Young Woman. It makes me appreciate those people who stand up on the stage and have to read out the names on cards, to be quite honest. But Frederick Thoroval for Promising Young Woman, Jennifer Lame for Tenet, Yorgos Lamprinos for The Father, Mikkel E.G. Nielsen for Sound of Metal, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Chloe Zhao obviously also being the director of Nomadland and writer, so yeah, very much the visionary behind that film. Whatever you think of it, she had full control of that thing. But great job on the editing, must be said. Again, same with all of those films. Promising Young Woman, I wasn't quite as sold on as everybody else as an overall thing. I think the sum of its parts isn't quite as good as its parts. It's got all these excellent things about it, performances and the editing, obviously production design, things like that. But it's just, I feel like they didn't add up to what they should have added up to. But it was still a good film, still a very good film. I just thought it was let down in the last 20 minutes or so. But hey ho, that's just me. Okay. Jack Petrie, hello Jack. Saul Martin, how are you, sir? I'm very good, thank you very much. Okay. Next category is, and do let me know if you're there in the chat, or if you're watching this later, and if you're looking at my choices, let me know from what I've picked, what I've nominated, which one you would go for in each of those categories. And then also let me know, if the one that you would go for isn't one that I've even nominated, let me know what that is as well, because I would love to hear your choices. But next category is best costume design. We've got Erin Bernack for Birds of Prey, Lindy Hemming for Wonder Woman 1984, Susan Lyall for Trial of the Chicago 7, Trish Somerville for Mank, and Nancy Steiner for Promising Young Woman. Again, another nomination for Promising Young Woman there. I just think the majority of movies that tend to get the best costume design category is either comic book movies or period dramas, and the obvious reason for that is that costumes in those kind of movies really tend to have to be built from scratch. You know, if you have a contemporary movie that's like a drama set in present day, the costume designers just, well, they go off modern day fashion, modern day styles. You could pick up the costumes to some extent in you know, any high high street retailer, but obviously when you get to comic book movies, things like that, period dramas, they literally have to design these things from scratch and build them up from that point on. And as I say, with Birds of Prey, it was just, Birds of Prey is a weird one, because when I first saw the stills that came out from that film, I thought it was going to be terrible. To be perfectly honest, I thought it was going to be horrible. But once I saw the film and everything was in motion and it was doing what it was doing, I was just, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Probably more than most. But again, it's the colour. So much colour going on in that film. So much kind of in your face bravado. Just like they go loud with it, and I appreciate that for the kind of movie it is. And again, Wonder Woman, another comic book movie. You look at Wonder Woman's armor in that. We've also got period, that kills two birds with one stone, a period movie in a comic book movie setting. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. I also think, you look at Mank, all those 1930s costume designs, really immaculately done. So yeah, really beautiful stuff. Hard category to call for a winner, I think, and it's worth bearing in mind as you watch this that I haven't picked the winners yet. I'm still mulling these over. These are definitely my finalists as far as nominees go, but there's a few of these categories where I'm still yet to pick the winner, and costume design is definitely one of them. Let's have a look what's going on here in the chat. Yes, Dale. I just noticed one of the hashtags is better than the Oscars. No greater truth than that. Yeah. Let's face it, it wouldn't be hard, would it? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Do have. Right. I need to find my place because I've lost my place. So just on costume design. So next up, we've got. So yeah, best cinematography. This is the category that I particularly probably pay more attention to. This and the director's category each year when I do these, just because it's I'm a camera operator by trade, no way near the level of the people that are going to be mentioned on this list, but it's the arena I feel more comfortable in kind of having an opinion on, I guess. So yeah. First up, my second favourite cinematographer of all time at this point, perhaps. My first being Roger Deakins. Hoyte van Hoytema for Tenet. Benjamin Kraken for Promising Young Woman, again. Benjamin Loeb for Pieces of a Woman. Eric Messerschmidt for Mank. And Ben Smithard for The Father. The Father's one of those films where it does mostly take place in one place. It's it takes place in this guy's house for most of the film, and it's like the tricky thing with that kind of movie is how do you keep it visually interesting? As a cinematographer, I think sometimes people might think a movie like that is much easier to shoot because you confined to one location. You don't have to go anywhere. Great, boom, you just bash it out. But as the cinematographer, you've got to keep it interesting visually. There's only so many places you can put the camera when you're in the same rooms every day, and I think, yeah. I think that Smithard does an excellent job in that. So Pieces of a Woman as well. Again, like I say, another nomination. It's third nomination. I just think that the lighting on that film was really good. Which comes into the whole cinematography aspect of things. We'll see. Again, in the comments, if you tell me who you think should get it, and who you would have voted for had it been your nominees, but also place your bets. Have a little betting game, and tell me who you think I'm gonna pick from these nominees. It would be interesting to see who knows me as the best. Who knows me better than anyone out of everyone watching. Who do you think I'm going to pick from each of these nominees? That'd be interesting. Okay, just again, quick check of the comments. Whoa. Okay. Oh man. Okay, hey Bryan, it's Ryan. To clear up the pronunciation of my last name, it's karate, but with a Z, so Zarate instead of a K. That's difficult there, Ryan. Doesn't clear it up that well, to be honest, because I hear some people pronounce it as karate and some people as karate. I'm going to go karate, so I'm going to say it's Zarate. Ryan Zarate. And I'm assuming Zarate's your last name and Ryan's your first name. Do correct me on that if I'm wrong. It's just that when you've popped up in Facebook and things like that, I've noticed Zarate appears first. So yeah, let me know which one's actually your first name. I'm assuming it's Ryan. But thank you, thank you for that. Man, that blows my mind. Yes, Dale, that is my sentiments exactly. Okay, Cody coming in the chat was not a fan, but this is a runaway win for Mank. Well, for cinematography you're talking there? No, because that wasn't that wasn't. Yes, so you're all right. So you're saying, so you think Eric Messerschmidt for Mank for cinematography? Interesting. Okay. I've gone all blurry. Hello. Just because it's black and white, doesn't mean it's fully deserving. But no, I know what you mean. It is beautiful. Okay. Here we go. Sumneat. Where the hell have you been, Bryan? I would like to tell you, but at the minute I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much I can say, how much I'm allowed to say. But all I can say is I've been working on something that has required me to step away from YouTube for a little bit. I am back now. You may have noticed last week I dropped 3 videos. So yeah, I am back. I am making videos. I didn't go anywhere. Not for good at any rate. I'm just, there's something in the pipeline. Hopefully it will happen. I've kind of done most of my end of the deal. Now it's up to other people as to whether it happens or not. And if it does, then I will be able to be a bit more forthcoming with the information. But for now, I'm afraid that's all I can say. But thank you for noticing my absence anyway. Did I hear only 4 nominations in cinematography? I don't think so. So, Hoyte van Hoytema for Tenet, Benjamin Krakoon for Promising Young Woman, Benjamin Loeb for Pieces of a Woman, Eric Messerschmidt for Mank, and Ben Smithard for The Father. Nope. There's definitely 5. I'm pretty sure I read them out before, but there you go. Anyway, oh, hang on. You are correct, Brian. Ryan is my first name, and Zarate is my last name. Okay, it will take me a while to get to that. Harmon Mose. Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Harmon Mose. Where is Nomadland for cinematography? It's not there. it's a simple answer. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was great cinematography, but we all have different tastes, and that, yeah. The films I've put on my nominations, I prefer from a cinematography standpoint. But yeah, okay. Yeah, Brotzer Tenet was the one I missed. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so next up is this is a category that when I look at the Oscars every year, I am most bummed out by the original score category, because I swear the people who vote on the best original score category don't actually listen to film scores. And I know that can't be true, because the way the Oscars do things, it is supposed to be people who do film scores who vote on them. But I'm a guy who listens to film scores. You know, my days of listening to bands has mostly kind of disappeared. I tend to just listen to film scores these days, if I'm being perfectly honest. There are a couple of bands, a couple of solo artists I still listen to. But if I'm putting something on, it does tend to be a film score. And yeah, like Terence Blanchard has been nominated for the past 2 years running, and I gotta say, while there was a piece of music in Black Klansman that I thought was awesome that he did, the rest of the album, like when you listen to it out of context of the film, it was kind of dull, if I'm being perfectly honest. And again, the same this year. Da 5 Bloods, he got nominated. I think did he win this year? I think Terence Blanchard may have won actually this year. Just don't quote me on that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a jazz fan, but it's just there's too much jazz going on in that. There's a few really nice tracks, and it's great within the context of the film. For me, I mean, again, I guess it depends on what you're judging, but for me, a really great film score, it should work Okay, if you could see me, please let me know. I do apologise for that stupid ass internet. Yeah, just if you can see me, if you can hear me, please just throw a comment in the comment section. Let me know, and then I will carry on. I'm good. Thank you, Movies and Trains Studios. What a bollock! So we've stopped. We stopped our monthly contract with the internet provider, and then all of a sudden, literally a week later, our internet turns to crap, and it's just like, clearly they do it on purpose. They've taken us off like their best whatever. So annoying. Right, where was I? Scores. So I was talking about scores. Bryan will return in the Bryan line feed rises. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so what I was going to say is, so my criteria for what makes a perfect score is that it not only fits within the context of the film, making you feel all the right emotions, having the right feel, the right kind of vibe for that movie. It kind of sets the tone for that movie. For example, I watched a film called Moonlight Serenade for the simple reason it had Amy Adams in it. It was an absolute bag of crap film. But one of the things that made it a bag of crap is that the score was just totally off. It didn't. I don't know what the tone was at all. I'm just like, what film are we in? So yeah, that's another thing. So that's to do with everything within the context of the film. But the other thing that separates it, I think, that makes it stand out, is that away from the film, you can listen to it purely on its own, and it's still really moving and just gets you going. And yeah, that for me is a perfect score. And for me, like I say, a lot of the scores that get nominated, I listen to them thinking, oh, they got nominated, they must be good. And I'm like, really? This got a nomination? And all the scores I listen to throughout the year, I can think of like a dozen that are better than this. That, again, no, it's music in it. Music is purely subjective. It's like comedy. Maybe I will list my choices now, and everyone will think, Bryan, you're smoking crack, your tastes are crap. But yeah, so for me personally, and again, this has nothing to do with the quality of the film. It is purely about the score. My nominees are Ludwig Göransson for Tenet, Steve Mazzaro for the rhythm section. Again, film there that is just perfectly average. Not a bad film, certainly not as bad as people made out. But the thing that made that film most for me was the score, and it's a score I've listened to like quite a bit, to be perfectly honest. But that a score to a film like that would never get nominated because the film's just average. People forget about it and they don't bother listening to the score as a result. So whereas me, I even a crap film or an average film, I'll listen to the score and it might grab me. It might make me want to watch the movie again. So yeah, Steve Mazzaro for the rhythm section. Listen to that score. It's a really good score. Daniel Pemberton for Birds of Prey. Again, that guy just makes scores that make me want to just get up and dance, to be honest. His score for King Arthur was fantastic as well. Rob Simonson for The Way Back. It's a much more sedate kind of score, but a lot of violins. I love the sound of cellos and violins, and that does some really beautiful stuff with those instruments. And also kind of he uses the sound of a basketball, so for anyone who's seen the movie, you'll know why he does that. But I love that, incorporating the sound of the basketball to fit with the tone of the movie. Really brilliant, simple use of sound and music. And probably my favourite composer of all time, no surprise that he's on this list, Hans Zimmer for Wonder Woman 1984. Again, a score that gets overlooked, I feel, because the film was pretty much panned. So it's like, oh, right. Even though I like the film, to be honest. But yeah, the score for that I've listened to so much because it's Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is just awesome. So yeah, let's have a look at some of these comments. Aaron White, Sonic the Hedgehog for best score. I don't know if you're being serious or joking there, but you might see Sonic the Hedgehog come up with a nomination in a bit from me, to be honest. So hold that thought. Dale, what are your guys' all-time favourite movie scores? A few of mine. Obviously, I've mentioned Hans Zimmer. Man of Steel, probably being my all-time favourite of his. Tron Legacy by Daft Punk is a really fantastic one as well. But yeah, they're the two that kind of, if somebody asks me what's my favourite scores, they're the two that like kind of take the top spot. So yeah, here we go. Right, next up, if I can find it, we've got that's it. Best Supporting Actress. Forgot to get rid of Dale's comment there. Oh man, I need someone to produce while I'm doing all this business. Okay. So best original score, we've done that. Best Supporting Actress. Okay, so we've got Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. A film that again was pretty much ragged on because people turned it into a political fiasco. It's like, oh, it's a film with a political agenda. Actually, no, it's not. It's a film based on a book, and that book was written from a very subjective perspective. So obviously, the film is going to have leanings towards one particular political worldview. It doesn't mean that the film was innately political. It's just, yeah, the criticism for that film did my head in. But if you've not seen Hillbilly Elegy, check it out because it's a good film. And try not to be a judgmental douche when you go and watch it. Take it for what it is, which is a subjective look at a particular issue. Anyway, supporting actress continuing. So it was Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Elizabeth Debicki for Tenet, who I thought really anchored that film. I think she was the heart of that film, to be honest. Amanda Seyfried for Mank, Imogen Poots for The Father, and Olivia Williams for The Father. Yeah, just all the performances in The Father were just outstanding, really. It was just, tour de force for acting. Was that movie. Yeah, let me know which of those you would go for. If there's one that I've not mentioned who you think should be on there, let me know. Let me have a look. Aaron Anderson. Oh, hang on. You've disappeared. There you go. Did you hear that Joker 2 is in pre-production? I did, although I've heard that for some time. I as far as I was aware, that's always been on the, well, it's been on the cards for a while. So yeah, I don't really know how new that news is, but I know this week it seems to have erupted again, and people seem to be talking about it again. But I'm up for it, man. I want to see it, and not only that, I would love for it to converge with Matt Reeves's Batman world. How great would it be to have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker going up against Robert Pattinson's Batman? That would be awesome. It won't, I don't think. I doubt very much, but man, that would be cool. Okay, so yeah, Harry Brady pretty much asking the same thing, but yeah, there you go. Let's see. Next category we have got Best Supporting Actor, and this is where, yes, Aaron, I point you to Sonic the Hedgehog, because my first nominee is for Sonic the Hedgehog, which is Jim Carrey. I really enjoyed Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was a film that I had zero interest in. I'm not a gamer, no interest in computer games, so when people get all excited that there's going to be an adaptation of a computer, I don't care. I could care less, to be quite honest. And the only reason I went to see it is because it was on a kids club. I took my kids, and I really enjoyed it. And the main reason for that, I think, the primary reason for that was Jim Carrey. It was old school Jim Carrey. You know, it'd been a while since Carrey had done a role like that, where he'd just go over the top and do his full-on kind of Jim Carrey shtick. And I just think, from a comedy perspective, it's something that's underappreciated. But he really throws himself into it in a physical way. There's a lot of physicality involved in what he does. And I think a role like that just doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. Because again, it's comedy. It's like, whatever. But it's flipping hard, I think. I think it's very hard to do comedy, to make people laugh like that and make it so natural. Feel so natural, that is. But that's years of training, you know. That's training himself and finding out what works and this, that and the other. But I just thought it was a really great performance. Comedic performance. So yeah, Jim Carrey for Sonic the Hedgehog, Sacha Baron Cohen for Trial of the Chicago 7. Very different kind of role for Sacha Baron Cohen there, much more serious role, proving that, you know, once again he's got the acting chops. Again, like in the comedy side of things, I think he's proven beyond a doubt that he's got the chops. But it takes a serious role to make all the buffoons who vote at the Oscars take note, I think. But yeah, deserving, definitely so. Delroy Lindo for Defy of Bloods. I thought he gave a really excellent performance in that. Again, he was... A lot of the heart of that movie was Delroy Lindo. The guilt that he had on his shoulders and the way he conveyed that. It was just... Yeah, I think he did a really great job. Paul Raci, or Raci, I don't know how you pronounce that name, for Sound of Metal. This was a guy that I never seen him in anything before, didn't know if he was an actor or just someone they got into, you know, like who did that as a job, and they thought, yeah, we could get him in to actually do it for the film. But no, he's again, he had a lot of warmth in that role, I think, that really made me respect him. So yeah, that was him who brought that to that role. I think in the wrong hands, that role could have come off as far too stern, far too judgmental, and he played it with just the right balance, I think. And finally, in the Best Supporting Actor category, we've got Eddie Redmayne for The Trial of the Chicago 7. Eddie Redmayne is one of those actors who is either really cringy, i.e. Jupiter Ascending, or he's just dynamite in whatever he's doing. So he goes one of two ways, but thankfully Trial of Chicago 7 is one of those where he was really engrossing. So yeah, okay, just check the comments once more. Aaron, my son loves Sonic the Hedgehog and took him to see it in theatres and had a great time. Yeah, I watched it again actually on Now TV and really enjoyed it the second time. So yeah, okay. How could Joker meet up with Batman when Bruce was just a kid? In highly overrated Joker. Well, if you look at Robert Pattinson's Batman, there's like, I think 20 years from that is when you get into Robert Pattinson's Batman. I mean, he could probably pass, to be honest, for 30. I reckon he could get away with playing 30 easy, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know, 20 years, just age whacking up a little bit. Yeah, I think it's doable, quite doable, quite frankly. Aaron, hopefully we get an autop stream soon. Don't think we've had one all year. Really? All year? I'm sure we've had one. But maybe you're right. I don't know. But yes, explain how Joker is overrated. I agree. It's not overrated. It's great. Great film. Best film of that year. I will hear no other opinion because they are wrong. Which brings us to the next category. Best Actress, and the nominees are Amy Adams, who is my all-time favourite actress, for Hillbilly Elegy. Again, I think her role was really overlooked because of the whole political nonsense surrounding the film. But I think, she did a really bang-up job. What she did to her body physically, like Christian Bale does that, he gets praise. Robert De Niro does that, he gets praise. Amy Adams does that, and it just kind of flies under the radar, and the film gets buried because of nonsense. But yeah, commitment. Part of what an actor brings to a role is the commitment, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever. And she really did show commitment to that role. So there you go. Olivia Colman for The Father. Real emotional hook in that film. Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. A hideous character in many ways, but understandably so. I think Davis finds moments of humanity in that movie, moments to show us why she is the way she is. But she's not a pretty character. It's got to be said. I don't mean physically. I just mean overall, just inside and out. She's a very but again, very committed performance. Viola Davis, clearly not being one to kind of show vanity in the role. Being prepared to make herself look, because she looks pretty rough in that film, to be honest. But again, it's just that commitment to the role. It's one of the things that separates her and Amy Adams from many other actors. They're willing to go wherever it is the character needs them to go. Frances McDormand for Nomadland. It's Frances McDormand. She's great. She could roll out of bed and onto the stage and she'd still be great. She has a lot of warmth, Frances McDormand. She just oozes warmth, I think. She has a very motherly presence about her. And finally, again, Promising Young Woman with its fourth nomination, Carey Mulligan, really the centre of that film. The whole film rests on her shoulders. Great performance. I do think that the total men hating in that film, there's not a single redeemable male character in it, and even the one decent male character actually, spoilers, turns out to be a complete pig by the end of it. And it's just really, I get it. The whole Me Too thing was like 2 years ago, but really, is this what we've come to now? That was one of my gripes with Birds of Prey as well, but I felt it was much more heavy-handed here, to be honest, in Promising Young Woman. But again, as I say, even though the film itself wasn't completely great in its overall deal, just certain aspects of it were just so on the ball, and Carey Mulligan is definitely one of those. Her performance in it was absolutely fantastic. So obviously we move from best actress, I should say, to the obvious character, the obvious category. It's getting late. I'm getting tired now. Starting to lose my speech. I'll throw up the card. Of course, it's Best Actor. So next up, here we go. Yeah, Best Actor. So we've got Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. Riz Ahmed's someone that I've kept a close watch on ever since Nightcrawler, to be honest. I thought he was fantastic in Nightcrawler. And yeah, he's really impressed me since then in everything he's done. And again, in Sound of Metal, he commits himself physically to the role. He's clearly beefed himself up a bit, and yeah, it was just really great in it. Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It's one of those roles it's really unfortunate, because now any award he wins for that role, you're always going to get that thing where it's like, oh, have they only given it him because he died? And it's unfair. It's really unfair, because it probably is the best performance of his career. Of everything I've seen from Chadwick Boseman, and he's always been pretty good. I just think that was his moment. Out of everything he's done, that performance was just incredible. The one scene in that film when everything goes tits up, so to speak, and yeah, it's so fantastic. He deserved the nomination, perhaps deserved the win. We'll see when I get to my winners announcements next week. But yeah, other nominees are Anthony Hopkins for The Father, of course, causing a bit of a stink at this year's Oscars when he won for this category. I think, whether it was Boseman or Hopkins, I think they're both worthy winners. I think Hopkins just gave a really moving performance. Yeah. Shia LaBeouf for Pieces of a Woman. I had issues with this film, Pieces of a Woman. The one thing I didn't have issue with the film is the performances. I think the two lead performances in that film were absolutely brilliant. But I feel like the character that Shia LaBeouf played kind of gets crapped on. He's turned into a bad guy when there's no need to turn him into a bad guy, and I feel like towards the end his character just goes down the toilet, and that's a writing issue, not a performance issue. From a performance standpoint, I think LaBeouf nailed it, and yeah, I thought it was a really great performance, let down by the writing. And finally, we've got Gary Oldman in Mank. One of his most subdued performances, I think, in recent years. I love Gary Oldman. I think he's one of the best actors of his generation. But he can fall into... He can often be brought in to just be that guy who shouts and gets overly dramatic. And I think with Mank, he calmed things down. There's a lot more subtlety with his performance in that film. So yeah, 5 great performances. I'm still on the fence as to which one I'm actually going to vote for in that as the winner, but there you go. Go back to the comments. Aaron White, Amy Adams is great. Loved her in The Fighter with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. That is one of my favourite movies, mate. It's certainly my favourite boxing movie. It's just all the performances in that are incredible. And yes, I loved her in that. Yeah, really moving film. Stiff Kittens reviews. Carey Mulligan for the win. Okay, we'll see. Okay. My gripe with Birds of Prey was that it was made. Hey, to each their own, man. To each their own. I liked it. I really liked it. It's a great score, great cinematography, really nicely edited. I loved the characters on there. My only gripe with it, like I say, was just a little bit too much men bashing going on. But man, I had a blast with it. I really did. Okay. John Parks. Given those choices, I'd go with Amy Adams. Aaron Anderson. Every time I see Viola Davis, I change the channel. So she comes on and you're like, no, I'm out. Okay. All right. That's a shame. Let's have a look. Chadwick best performance was in 42. I've actually not seen 42, mate. I do need to see 42. I know when that came out, it did quite well at the box office, a lot better than people were expecting. But yeah. Right, where we go? Bit of a segue here. Harmon Mose. Where are the categories for screenplays? Well, they're up right here. First one is Best Adapted Screenplay. So obviously this is any screenplay that it was taken from like either a book or a magazine article, a newspaper. Basically, there was something else that gave way to that screenplay, where they took a story that was done and readapted it, so to speak. That doesn't mean that a film based on a true story is an adapted screenplay, because if somebody has found that story and just run with it and done their own screenplay, that still counts as original screenplay. But adapted screenplay is if it's taken specifically from a book, or you're adapting the book, or you're adapting the article in a magazine or newspaper or whatever. So I'm sure you already know that, but for those that maybe are not quite sure, there you go. But Best Adapted Screenplay, 5 nominees are Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot for The Five Bloods, Ruben Santiago Hudson for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It's very much it's very dialogue heavy. It's kind of mostly a one location film. It's really theatre, but the dialogue is just, it's fantastic. It's brilliantly written. Again, with The Five Bloods as well, just the screenplay on that. While the film overall, I think, maybe doesn't quite equal the sum of its parts. It's still good. I thought it was really cracking film. But I think that the screenplay was stronger than the execution, perhaps. Just my opinion. Vanessa Taylor for Hillbilly Elegy. I think, again, I think most of the criticisms of Hillbilly Elegy will come from the writing, will come from what is perceived to be a more kind of right-wing agenda. I don't see it that way. It's an adaptation of a book. So if you want to blame anyone, blame the guy who wrote the book. But that was his subjective experience, He wrote a book about his life, about his experiences, about what he went through. So all the screenwriter did was adapt that. And you can't blame him for that. It boggles my mind, the criticism for that film. But yeah, Vanessa Taylor for Hillbilly Elegy, I think she did a great job in adapting the book. Christopher Hampton and Florian Zeller for The Father. Again, really great job. Awesome screenplay that gave the actors some real meat to chew on. And Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Again, I can't remember what she'd adapted, whether it was a book or an article or something else. But yeah, apparently that came under the adapted screenplay category. But either way, it was really well done. It was a really great screenplay. But yeah, Sorry, I've drunken something a bit weird, and now it's giving me bad gas, which I'm sure none of you needed to know about, but there you go. Anyway, that was adapted screenplay. And next up, yep, best original screenplays. This is a, yeah, I've already explained it, but best original screenplay, we've got Derek Cianfrance, Darius Marder, and Abraham Marder for Sound of Metal. Just, yeah, really engrossing story, kind of following a character that really I didn't like all that much, and yet because of the screenplay, because of the way it was written, and because of Riz Ahmed's performance, I'm really engrossed in it, and I'm hoping for redemption for this character all the way through, and just, yeah, I'm hooked. So yeah, great job on the screenplay there. Jack Fincher for Mank. Now I don't know how much of a hand David Fincher had in this. I know the screenplay was done by Fincher's father, Jack Fincher. So there's some debate there as to whether or not it would be original screenplay or adapted screenplay, depending on how much of a hand Fincher had in it at the writing stage. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I thought it was a really good screenplay. I love movies that kind of harken back to the golden age of Hollywood, and just like I did a degree in media, and my dissertation, which turned out to get a bad mark on anyway, to be honest, but for my dissertation I really dug deep into Hollywood history. I wrote my dissertation on a lot of the stuff around Hollywood history, and so I became quite interested in it. So I think when I see movies like this that kind of have all these different references in that perhaps you might not pick up on if you're not that familiar with Hollywood history, it was a film I really enjoyed kind of weaving in and out of, and yeah, so I think a lot of that knowledge that Fincher had, both Finchers, about Hollywood and whatnot, really fed into that script, and as a result, I don't know, I liked it. I really liked it. I enjoyed the journey that this character went on, and I liked what it had to say about the role of the writer in general, versus the role of the director. If it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, as Sid Field often said. It starts with the writer. So yeah, it is a film that sings the praises of the writer, and I like it for that. Brad Inglesby for The Way Back, which starred Ben Affleck. I really liked it. I've already nominated the score for that film, but I think that the score for that film really taps in well to the mood of it and just what it's trying to say. It's kind of it's a redemptive journey. It's about a man trying to find the way back after hitting his lowest point. And I just thought it was really well written, really well directed. So yeah. Christopher Nolan for Tenet. This is probably a controversial choice for many, because many came out of Tenet thinking, I didn't get it. It was kind of too confusing. How can you nominate a film for Best Original Screenplay if it was too confusing? I didn't find it all that confusing, to be honest. Maybe it's just the way my brain works or whatever. I got a lot out of it. I think there's a lot in there about fate and destiny and the difference between the two, and does God have a hand in things, and it's just, there's a lot more there than people give it credit for. I think it has a spiritual element to it that was overlooked, and I also think that to convey the ideas that Nolan was trying to convey, not even just the themes, but just the logistics what these characters have to do in order to travel back through time and whatnot. To be able to capture that, convey it, I just thought in script form was just, yeah, it's brilliantly written. Nolan's a genius, simple as, and I think it is definitely worthy of best screenplay. I just think it didn't get nominated because people didn't get it, didn't understand it. Whatever. Okay, we're getting into the last two categories now. The big ones, obviously, for me at any rate. The first up is Best Director, that's right. Okay, so first up we've got David Fincher for Mank. Fincher's just a master. He's got a real handle on the visuals. He knows how to tell a story visually. He's just all of these guys. Darius Marder. So I think had he done a couple more films before this? I can't remember. For Sound of Metal anyway, I thought he did a really great job. Just it kind of had a very a bit like Nomadland, just a very you're kind of there in the moment, feeling about it. A lot of handheld stuff, just very almost documentary-esque feel about it. Just yeah, really great. Christopher Nolan, obviously. Hello. I made no secret who my favourite director is, and I've made no secret that I think Tenet is just an absolutely flipping great film. It was pretty high in my top 100 movies list that I did recently, so make of that what you will. Florian Zeller for The Father. Again, going back to what I said earlier about one location shoots, when everything's confined to roughly one location, how do you keep that visually interesting? How do you block the actors so they don't just look like they're stood in the same spot, but how do you get them to move around so it looks natural and not like you're just getting them to move around for the sake of moving? It's all these things as a director you have to think about. Blocking, where you put the camera. I think, yeah, for a pretty self-contained movie, it's really well directed. And finally, already mentioned Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, who took the Oscar this year. Only the second woman in Oscars history to win Best Director. And yeah, Nomadland, brilliantly directed. It feels like a documentary, and some of the people that are in it are not actors by trade. They are people that that existed within this real life story situation that the film was based on. So yeah, just again, brilliantly directed. That's a skill in and of itself. As a director myself, I've worked on a few films, and part of what you do as a director is probably the biggest part of what you do as a director, to be honest, is to draw out of the actors the best performances. And when you're working with grade A actors, when you're working with Oscar winners, when you're working with Frances McDormand, you probably don't have that much to do as a director. Just stay out of the way, do the odd course correction. But one of the things Chloe Zhao had to do on this film, which is a real skill as a director, is work with people who are not actors. There's many people in this film who are just everyday people, and she had to draw performances out of them that were believable. And that's a real skill as a director, whilst also, thinking about your visuals. How do you visually represent this story and stuff? So yeah, definitely a deserved nomination at the Oscars. Whether she deserved to win or not, we will find out next week. But yeah, let's have a look at the comments here. Oh, Ryan! Man, seriously. Just... You blow my mind. It's just like... Off topic, but can we agree that Batman Bruce is dead at the end of Dark Knight Rises? Alfred is old, grieving, and drinks some alcohol before looking up and sees what he needs to see to help move on with his life. I think it's purposefully shot in a dreamlike manner, so you can make up your own mind. It's not my reading of it. My reading is that he's alive because we're told that, you know, the escape compartment, the ejector thing, we're told that was broke halfway through the film, which leads us to believe that, you know, Bruce isn't going to get out. But then we're told towards the end that somebody had fixed it, i.e. Bruce had fixed it. We're told that after, you know, he escapes. So no, I think he got out. I think, yeah, but I think it's open to interpretation. If that's not the ending you want to subscribe to, that's perfectly fine. But man, thank you. Thank you for dropping what has now amounted to $300 over this stream. Good grief. I worry that I'm gonna make you skin or something. Just please, no more for tonight, mate. Seriously. Man alive. Yes. Aaron, wowzers. The other Aaron. Holy hell. Yes. My sentiments exactly. Let's see. Atheist Al, your secular pal. This is my first time here. I didn't know Bryan has a movie award stream. This is the first time I've actually streamed it, mate. I think, given some of the technical difficulties I've had tonight, I would probably say that I will go back to the way I presented it previously, which was as a pre-recorded video. Although, given that I've just made $300 tonight, maybe not. Good grief. Okay, right. So, final category of the night. Pretty obvious, but I made a card for it, so I'll bring it up. That's right, best film. So of the movies that I saw in 2020, and I will admit it wasn't an abundance, it wasn't a huge amount of films that were released in 2020. Bearing in mind, remember, it's release dates with 2020. I know there's a lot of films that made the Oscars that were actually released this year. I don't count them. I am just going to flip over to my Letterboxd account because, like I say, last year was a very obvious reasons, you know, COVID and whatnot. Certainly, cinema releases were pretty kind of low on the ground. But that being said, there was a lot of stuff on streaming services like Netflix and Amazon and you know, Sky, Now TV, all them kind of things. So there was still a lot of films out there. You know, if you were willing to look, there was a lot of films out there. But as far as I was concerned, 2020 for me, if I can just find my list. Okay, so I only saw 38 new releases last year. So, obviously, bearing in mind, normally most years when I do these awards, I've usually seen in probably around 100 movies, new releases, usually more. Anywhere between 100 and 130 new releases are usually what go into making my list for these awards, and I always make sure that I watch the big Oscar winners and the Oscar nominees. I always make sure I watch the Best Picture nominees. I often disagree with them, quite frankly, but yeah. So 38 movies went in to deciding what went on these nominations. So that may put you right off there. You know, you may look at that and think, dude, how can you do an award ceremony for the year of 2020 when you've only seen 38 of the new releases? But I just like to be upfront as to where I'm coming from. Yeah, that is where I'm coming from. So, best film. Bearing in mind, film is entirely subjective. These are my choices, not yours. But these are essentially my top 10 movies of 2020. I know some of these will not be to everyone's taste, but here goes. As far as I'm concerned, the top 10 movies, and these are in no particular order except... Oh, well, actually, they are in an order. They're in alphabetical order. But here we go. So, my top 10 are Birds of Prey, which I know a lot of people will be like that, but what can I say? I really enjoyed it. The Father, The Gentleman, which is the Guy Ritchie film. That's the film that was released over here in 2019, but I think the US release date was 2020, so it qualifies for 2020. Really good Guy Ritchie film. I had a blast with it. Hilarious, especially Colin Farrell. The Invisible Man, really great remake. It's not really so much a remake, it's a reimagining. It's completely different to the original, so I can't really call it a remake, but it's certainly, yeah, going back to the old Universal monster movie things. It was a bang up job. Really good film. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Again, like I say, it's a film that I'm probably not going to repeat watch, I don't think, but just as an experience, sitting down, watching it, those performances just blew me away. The script was really incredible. It was just a great drama. If you're someone who likes a dialogue, character-driven piece, then yeah, it is a great film. Nomadland, which I think Nomadland picked up Best Picture this year, did it? I know Chloe Zhao got Best Director. I think Nomadland won Best Picture. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure it did. But yeah, it made my top 10. Tenet. The Trial of the Chicago 7. I'm a huge Aaron Sorkin fan. It's nice to see him get into directing. I really loved Molly's Game, which was his first directing effort, and then he's knocked it out of the park with The Trial of the Chicago 7. The Way Back, again, just a really good character study, really good low-key drama. I thought it was great. And finally, and this is probably the most controversial film on this list, which I'm sure I'll get some stick for, but it's Wonder Woman 1984. I loved it. What can I say? Whether it's just because I have such a soft spot for Gal Gadot and the music of Hans Zimmer, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. I thought the majority of the criticisms for it were over the top, and many of them had explanations. Some of them didn't. I think some of the criticisms were legit, but you know, I'm not saying it's a perfect film, but I really enjoyed it, and I will quite happily watch it again. And Kristen Wiig is kind of hot as Cheetah, it's got to be said. Okay, so some neat. Brian, do you still think Tenet is better than Inception? The answer to that question, some neat, is yes, I do, but it comes with the caveat that they're like that. You know, if you look at my top 100 movies list that I did, bearing in mind that I've seen close to 4,000 movies now, Tenet and Inception were like, there's only a few films between them, so it's not like I'm saying, oh, Tenet's so much better than Inception. No, it's just I perfectly understand anyone who says Inception's a better movie. I do. It's certainly easier to understand, but it's just for me, Tenet it got me a bit more, I think. But yeah, there you go. And Dale, if Tenet doesn't win, Brian's gonna be heartbroken. Wonder Woman 84 was okay, but I enjoyed your movie evangelist overview of it. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, for those who don't know, I do have another channel called The Movie Evangelist, where I take movies apart, I dissect them from a Christian perspective. I look at the Christian themes within them. So yeah, do check out that channel if you are unaware of it. That is this year's nominations. Obviously, as I say, I will be back next week with the winners video. I don't know if I'm going to do that live or as a pre-recorded thing. Let me know in the comments how you would prefer me to do it. Would you like to see a more polished kind of winners announcement video, or would you prefer like what we've done tonight? Even though we had those hiccups earlier on. But yeah, do let me know. As you can see down in the bottom here, this is a list of my patrons that have been coming up. Please do check out my Patreon page if you haven't checked it out already. Check out what the perks are on there for becoming a patron of the channel. Alternatively, you can become a member. If you look on YouTube down in there should be a join button somewhere along here. Click join, see what perks you can get there. And yeah, become a member or a patron of the Bryan Lomax Movie Talk family. We have a Facebook page. I set up a Facebook page just for patrons and members. You will get exclusive access to that, where we can chat and just, yeah, get to know each other a bit better, have a bit more of a community. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Ryan, for basically allowing me to not have to do any more work for the rest of this month. Yeah, and I'm getting a few reactions there saying live. A few people really like the live way of doing things. But yeah, on that note, all that's left for me to say is thank you for watching, and until next time, cracking.